What is money? You assume the numbers in your bank account are solid, that your life savings will be there tomorrow. This is a 100 trillion German mark note from 1923. In early November, it was worth about $25. Just 1 week later, it was worthless. Not worth less, worthless. It couldn't buy a single matchstick. Its only value was as kindling, wallpaper, or a child's toy. This is the story of a country where money died. It wasn't an apocalypse. It was a choice, a series of deliberate decisions. We're told it could never happen today. But the terrifying part isn't what happened then. It's that the same patterns and desperate choices are happening right now. This is the story of the death of the German mark and what people did to survive. Welcome to Capital History. To understand how a nation descended into barter, you must understand the wound. 1918. Germany loses the Great War. The new Weimar Republic is handed the bill. The Treaty of Versailles. The price is 132 billion gold, marks more than double Germany's national income. The fatal condition. Reparations had to be paid in gold or foreign currency. Their own paper mark was not accepted. The new government also had to pay its own internal war bonds and pensions. The Weimar Republic started life completely bankrupt. They couldn't tax or borrow. They had one option, the printing press. The government sold its IOUs to its central bank, the Reichsbank. The bank paid for them by simply printing money. This is monetizing the debt. At first, it worked. The economy kept spinning. But every new mark diluted the others. By 1921, the rate fell from 4 to over 60 marks to the dollar. This slow inflation wasn't seen as a failure. It was a strategy. For industrialists, it was a dream. Borrow 10 million marks, build a factory. A year later, that 10 million was worthless. You pay off the loan with a single day's profit. You got a factory for free, the bank got worthless paper. Germany boomed. The inflation kings got rich, acquiring real assets with dying money. The government did this too, printing paper marks to buy foreign currency for reparations. They were deliberately destroying their own currency to prove to the Allies that payments were impossible. In late 1922, the Allies called their bluff. France and Belgium declared Germany in default. On the 11th of January 1923, 60,000 French and Belgian troops marched in and seized the Ruhr, Germany's industrial heartland. The French said, "If you will not pay us in paper, we will take our payment in things." The German government, powerless, called for passive resistance. They ordered every worker in the Ruhr to strike, making a fatal promise. The government will pay your salaries while you strike. Think about this. The government was now paying millions to not produce anything. The economy's engine was shut off, but the demand for money was higher than ever. This was the breaking point. The Reichsbank had one solution: print. 1,783 new printing presses ran 24/7. The link between money and value was severed. The population finally understood. The trust shattered. Welcome to the hyperinflation. In January 1923, a loaf of bread was 250 marks. By August, the exchange rate was 6 million marks to $1. By November, it was 4.2 trillion. That loaf of bread that cost 250 marks now cost 200 billion marks in November. Prices rose by the hour. A cup of coffee cost 5,000 marks when ordered, and 8,000 by the time you finished. This wasn't an economy, it was a national psychosis. And this is what people did to survive. Barter returned. It was a chaotic scramble for sachuerte real things. A bag of coffee became a currency. A pair of new boots was a retirement fund. City dwellers took trains to the countryside. carrying heirlooms, a silver candlestick, to beg farmers for potatoes. The farmers, who had the real wealth, refused marks and became the new royalty. In the cities, survival became a full-time job. Companies paid workers daily. At 11 a.m., families would be waiting outside with wheelbarrows. The men would be given their pay, a stack of billions, and the entire family would run. They would run to the grocer, the baker, to buy anything tangible before prices rose at lunchtime. By 3 p.m., that money was worth half as much. By morning, it was worthless. Saving was impossible. Prudence was punished. The person who spent their money the fastest was the one who survived. Your entire economic life inverted. Every lesson about saving was a lie. The future was 30 minutes from now. This destroyed the morality of the country. The middle class, the savers, the pensioners were annihilated. Imagine a retired couple who saved 100,000 marks in 1918, a fortune. By November 1923, it couldn't buy a box of matches. A lifetime of work evaporated. Crime exploded, not from greed, but necessity. And while the honest middle class starved, the inflation kings partied. The debtors, speculators, and those with foreign currency lived like gods. A single American dollar could buy an entire city block. This wasn't a universal disaster. It was the single greatest, most violent transfer of wealth in modern history. It transferred all value from the savers to the debtors, from the old and prudent to the young and speculative. By November 1923, the system was gone. The chaos had to stop. The end came with the miracle of the Rentenmark. The old central bank president Havenstein died. His replacement was Hjalmar Schacht, a brilliant, cold-blooded financier. Schacht announced a new currency, the Rentenmark. Was it backed by gold? No. Germany had no gold. Schacht, in a moment of psychological genius, announced it was backed by a mortgage on all of the land and industrial property in Germany. This was a fiction, but it sounded solid. It was based on Sachwerte real things. He set the exchange rate. One new Rentenmark was worth 1 trillion old paper marks. He was cutting the zeros, but this would have failed if he hadn't done the one thing that mattered. He turned off the printing presses. At the same time, the Dawes Plan restructured reparations and gave Germany a massive loan from the United States. For the first time, the government could pay its bills without the central bank. The miracle was stopping the drug. Overnight, the psychosis broke. The inflation stopped. Stability returned. But the scars had been cut too deep. The middle class was gone. Their trust in democracy, in capitalism, was shattered. When the Great Depression hit 6 years later, the people had no faith left. They were ready to listen to any radical voice who promised to burn the old system to the ground. We look back on this as a historical oddity. We tell ourselves, it can't happen now. Our systems are too smart. Are they? Let's look at the pattern. Pattern 1, a government spends far more than it takes in, facing unpayable obligations. Pattern 2, it cannot tax more. It struggles to borrow. It turns to its last resort, the central bank. Pattern 3, the central bank creates new money to buy the government's debt. We don't use presses. We call it quantitative easing. Between 2020 and 2021, over 20% of all US dollars in existence were created. This isn't just an American story. The ECB, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, they have all been doing it. Pattern 4, this new money floods into assets. The stock market hits all-time highs. Housing prices become unaffordable. Just like in Weimar, the people who benefit are the debtors and the owners of tangible assets. The new inflation kings. Who is punished? The savers. The person with cash in a bank account earning 0.1% while the cost of living soars. This is the same great wealth transfer, just happening in slow motion. It's a silent tax you pay every day. The Weimar story teaches us that hyperinflation isn't a steady climb. It is a cliff. It's a slow, manageable process. Until, suddenly, it isn't. The breaking point is not a number. It's a psychological event. It's the moment the population loses trust, the moment they realize the game is rigged, and they all rush for the exit. We are not in Weimar 1923, but we are arguably in Weimar 1921, the good part of the inflation, where assets are booming. The question is, what is the modern day event that severs the last thread of public trust? So, what are the takeaways from this story? Here are 3 things capital history believes are essential. 1. Money is not wealth. Money is trust. Wealth is the thing itself, the factory, the farm, the food, the marketable skill. When the shared story of money breaks, all that is left is real wealth. 2. Hyperinflation is not an accident. It is a policy. It is a choice. It's the easy way out of an unpayable debt crisis. It is a tax that doesn't require a vote. It is a default without the name. 3. Survival is about tangible value. The people who survived Weimar were those who owned real things, productive land, a home without a mortgage, or access to foreign sounder money. They survived by creating parallel economies. The story of the Papiermark is a warning. It shows us that the foundation of our world, the numbers on our screens, is built on nothing more than collective belief. We live in an age of unprecedented global debt. The digital printing presses have been running for a decade. The question isn't if our money can become worthless. The question is, how much pressure can that shared story take before it too begins to tear? History gives us the blueprint. It's our job to read it. If you want to keep learning the lessons hidden in our past, subscribe to Capital History. We're not just looking at old paintings, we're understanding our present. Let us know in the comments. In a modern crisis, when the official money fails, what single real asset would you trust the most?